Hello and welcome back to episode 3 of the Main Stage podcast. This one's a very special one, as this week we're joined by one of the titans of festival YouTube and Twitter. We're joined by the main man from the Randall Mill and the Festival Mill now, Mr. Adam Nixon. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. Yourself?
I'm not too bad. We've kind of... I've been filming like a lot of these this week, so we're kind of just blasting through them now. It's nice to be fully like into the flow of the work. But this week we're doing it's a follow on from last week's, which was top 10 albums of all time. This week we're talking about top 10 songs of all time, so it's kind of like a part 2 to that episode last week with Alfie. But before we start with that, have you got any like honourable things? Oh, bear with me. Have you got anything you want to plug?
I mean, it's a bit of a difficult one this year. I mean, I think this year, out of all of the previous couple of years that we've been doing sort of like the round of mill and stuff, like me and Ruben have just found ourselves, like, I'm in third year, Ruben's just got his first full-time job, so it's a bit of a weird one at the moment. So we're in a bit of a transition, so that's probably why the content hasn't been as high up. I'm hoping as sort of uni gets towards the end, and when there's hopefully it will be all in time for the summer and we can get back on the grind. But no, I just really appreciate you having me on, and
Yeah, of course.
and it's just, you know, really cool just to chat about music, and at the moment you're doing it more than us, so crack on, mate.
Because when I was doing I was sorting out the bookings for the podcast, if you will. I think you guys and Jack were 3 of like the big ones to get. Were like that was the target. If I could get you and Jack, like I've had conversations with Rob Kellis, and I'm sure that'll happen at some point. It didn't materialise for this kind of series, but maybe down in the future that'll happen. And there's been a few others that I've been interested by, but it was definitely like a must-have to get you guys on. So I appreciate you coming on. But yeah,
good.
That's the thing. So like uni work, because we're at that point in the year now where it's like the first set of deadlines are coming in. I think like it's a terrible time, isn't it? Because this is when you get in all your lineups, all the like kind of news and the discussion. But at the same time, we've got to like kind of really judge how we cover it, and really like work on how we cover it. I noticed myself like some days going, okay, uni work today, video work another day, and that has been a big balance to try and get right. But I'm assuming you guys have just kind of said uni work first, and then we'll crack on with it.
Yeah, because when I first started the page, I also now have a part-time job doing content and media for a football club, and I didn't have that job when I started the page. So last year was sort of the balancing act, and obviously ready for Reading and stuff. Like when the festival season happens, it kind of works well because the football season's off, so you can kind of balance it. But when you're in this point where like football season's in full swing, lineups are kind of out, it's really tough to balance it, and that's why we just 100%. Haven't even been able to react to a lineup. I mean, luckily, I think this year's lineup was so mixed reaction. I mean, it was a bit of a weird one to talk about. Some people didn't really care about it.
I was going to ask you about the lineup because obviously you put out a kind of like a short video, but I was interested to what you think, like in depth. Like, just do you have any like big thoughts on it that are maybe a bit longer than video?
Yeah, well, I think what I was planning on doing is, since I missed it sort of when it came out, doing it as a sense of eventually doing a video where we can think about it and say, you know, look, we've had a couple of months to dissect it. We've read all the reviews. We've looked at your videos and other people's videos. But just reeling off my opinion off the bat, I think it's definitely the weirdest one I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's absolutely bizarre. I couldn't, when the leak came out about an hour before, and I was like, no way. But it is.
It's strange because when you watch some of those like old classic Duty Rhino videos back, and you're just like slagging off the 2018 lineup like it was the worst thing in the world. Like looking back now, the 2018 lineup would be like killer,
ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. If we got that now, it'd be like a game changer. So it's mad to see how things change. I was speaking to Sam about that briefly last night as well, like just how like the quality changes from time to time. Like it's the same festival, but the 2002 lineup has like there'll be I think that in 2002, I think I was saying there was like the streets were like 3 stages down, and I met someone in a Pretty Green shop that doesn't have a single song on Spotify that's been booked to play that same slot that the streets were playing in 2002, and I'm just like, it's just nuts. Like,
It is.
The level that things change, and the level of like ambition, I suppose, that they go for.
Yeah.
But anything else on that, Reading and Leeds?
I just think I do think times have changed and probably bookings have got more expensive, and I can sympathise with that. I can understand that. I think the one thing that would disappoint me the most is in terms of obviously like the headliners, they're all undoubtedly huge bookings, and I'm happy to sort of look past that. But I just really, I normally quite like looking at the undercard and get excited for the sub-headliners, and I just can't get excited by it.
Yeah,
there's some that are really, really cool, like seeing like Laurel Kana, Wet Leg, understandable. But honestly, and apart from maybe sort of your Becky Hill, Declan McKenna, the rest I just cannot get excited for.
That's a big kind of point that I've been pushing, is that there's not really any sub-headliners with much kind of about them. Like, there's not much...
Yeah.
A lot of those sub-headliners, like we're talking like Central C, Wet Leg, haven't even been around like a year and a half. So it's just kind of wild to see them that high up. I suppose it's the nature of like the industry with TikTok just blowing stuff up, but you've kind of... It narrows you down, because it means like now that we've got all 4 sub-headliners, like who do we get now that's smaller, that's gonna... Because there's only like special guest slots left. So
the worst thing about it is that me, you, Ruben, Jack, we all know Rob and all those guys. So we all know what to expect, and we know that now it's going to be special guests and little names. But you're going to have all those people that are only been to last year's Reading or never been to Reading, and they're going to expect a double announcement, and you're going to get all the same size names again, and that's just not going to happen.
I think the silver lining for me looking at this is that it really does like look good for 2024. Because this is the first time in the past couple, like since COVID, it's not sold out. Because it's sold out immediately in 2021, sold out fairly quickly in 2022. I just don't see it selling out unless something major happens. Unless there's someone ridiculous on this other like next announcement.
Yeah.
But there really can't be, because there's not a space for them. So it's kind of an interesting one, and I think it says it's got to like... Because money is the thing that speaks to the companies, isn't it? So they're going to see the lack of money, hopefully, and that'll signal like a shift. That's what I'm hoping for, personally. But onto the topic, top 10 songs of all time. Not necessarily in any order, but just songs that if you were on a desert island, the songs that you'd take with you.
That's what I've gone for. I think, I was trying to just think of like the top 10 best songs, and I was like, I can't do that. So what I've done is I've got a few that I've just loved and grown up with or whatever, and some that just reflect on my lives, but I've also got ones that reflect sort of people in like my family potentially, or just like the sort of the reasons behind why I have a song, and that's what I've gone for. If that's okay.
So absolutely. I know you said you were struggling to whittle it down. Do you have any like honourable mentions that could be in there that aren't necessarily in your 10, but like just outside ones that almost made it?
Yeah, I'm going to say one of them is, I'll explain why in a minute, but one of them I've gone for Murder on the Dance Floor.
Big. Okay.
Yeah.
Big tune.
That was. I mean, the toss-up one you'll notice is like you'll be like they're like 2 different songs, but it's just because they're both in there for the same reason. But I've had to go for the other one.
I think of the only glaringly obvious honourable mention on my part, and this is weird because I slag him off all the time, but I just think it's one of like I honestly do think it's just like on a different level. But I would have gone with Sam Fender with The Borders. I think
June.
Because I can talk shit about Sam Fender for days, but that tune is like on another level. It's I don't even compare it to other songs. So that's why I've got
really
that
good.
in there. Any more from you before we get into the lists?
No, I don't think so. I'm happy to go into the list, and you'll see my random mix of songs.
Got you. Okay, so I'll start with my number 10. Like I said, these aren't in any particular order. They're just kind of the order I thought of them. My number 10, I've gone with Monster by Paramore from the Transformers 3 soundtrack. It's a bit of like it's a bit of an underrated one, a bit of like a bit more niche. It's not the first Paramore song that ever comes to anyone's mind, but I just think I couldn't leave it out because there's a style of music that I call Michael Bay Transformers core, and it's the kind of music where Optimus Prime's doing his little speech, and then it cuts to the directed by Michael Bay, and you have the big loud part of the song. And Paramore Monster is like the perfect example of that. It's the best way it's done, and it is one of my favorite genres. As much as I feel like a horrible person admitting that, I love a bit of the Bay core, and this is just a prime example of it. So that's why that's my number 10.
No, I like it. I think that's a really, really interesting choice. There's so many Paramore songs.
Of the 10, that's the most throwaway one I've got. That's like I can get the talking part out of the way for that. With the rest, I can go into them a bit more.
But to be fair, my number 10 is a bit of a throwaway one because I was talking to my girlfriend before this, and literally as I was speaking to her yesterday, we were talking about the whole 1975 Taylor Swift moment, and we were just going through it, and we were like, and I was like, she loves Taylor Swift, and I for me am not, I mean, she's fine, right? But actually, like I was saying to it, and at the moment, all I can listen to is Anti-Hero, and I've chucked that at number 10. I honestly cannot stop listening to it, and I think that's going to be the only Taylor Swift song that ever gets me. And I was like, it has to be somewhat a mention. It has to be. So I've gone for Anti-Hero, and that's why.
I've noticed with Taylor Swift, like, it's one of them things where whenever I hear anyone else talking about her, I'll be like, oh, come off it. But whenever I'm talking about her, I'm allowed to like her. That's the thing I've noticed.
Yeah, I know.
There's a girl I work with who's just obsessed with Taylor Swift, and we do like Taylor Swift club nights that we host. And everyone, she's just banging on about Taylor Swift, and I'm there like, in the group chat, like, boys, she likes Taylor Swift. Do you know that? But no, her early stuff bangs. And definitely, there's a few of them tunes where I'd say, like, if I was in a band doing the live lounge, there's a few Taylor Swift tunes I would play.
I just think you have to acknowledge her. I mean, like, how many other artists of this world could literally sell out the whole of America in a click of a finger? Not many.
Yeah,
and I just think, and that's what we were talking about, and we were just saying about how big she is, and I was like, how is her most recent song been the one song that I've liked the most? But it's just one of them ones. But there's been a bit of a funny mix of music over this sort of Christmas period, to be fair, anyway. So that's 100%. Why I went for it.
I'm trying to think, what was the Taylor Swift song off this album? Was it Karma? I think I listened to the Taylor Swift, like the Midnight's album. I was doing it for my ranking, and like you said, I didn't see anything like particularly good. But there's the odd song in there, and this time it was Karma. That just is. There's something about it. So I do really rate that from Taylor Swift. I'm gonna go on to my number 9 now.
Go for it.
I've got 2001 by Foles, which is like. Reasoning behind this is, look, it's a nice summery song. So we're assuming we're on a desert island. We're going to be chilling out for a good portion of that time.
Yeah, nice.
And it also, like, if we're only allowed 10 songs, I feel like 2001 by Foles is a song that would work really well on loop. I feel like, because it's like the first part of that track. They have like a second part, which is the track after on the album, that's just like an instrumental loop. And I feel like I could just have 2001 on loop just for the rest of time, and I don't think it would get old quick. So, and like I said, just like a really banging summer song. Like it's proper groovy. Like it's a very like it's very much like a mindset song. It's like if I'm feeling a bit low, just whack that song and I kind of groove and it'll make me happy again. So that's why that's in there. Probably the most. I think that's the most recent pick on here as well.
Really? What year was that?
That was 2022. Yeah, that came out last year. That was on the most recent album. So that's easily the most recent on there. But that whole album's really good in terms of like looped songs and just songs that you can listen to and kind of have on. It's very groovy, but I think 2001's kind of just the best example.
And of course they'll be at Reading, but
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I do know what you mean. I listened to a bit of that album. I think it was when they were around doing their like London shows, and I knew of one of the bands that was supporting them. And for me, like Foals has been one of them ones where there's always a couple of songs off of each album that I've really, really liked, and then not really got into the rest of the album. But I must admit, I think it was almost the opposite with that most recent one. I feel as though you could just kind of pop it on and you wouldn't notice any sort of change. It was just like, it's just kind of like,
it's very consistent. It's just like 40 minutes of easy. It's easily digestible, and I know that's like not what you hope for with like experimental music, but it is just kind of very digestible, easy to listen to, non-challenging but in all the right ways. It's like I don't think it's meant to be.
No. Well, if I go on to my number 9, I think that's, I'm going to go on the same theme as you, because this is sort of my summer holiday song.
Yeah.
And I've gone for Hell and Back by Bakar.
Right, okay, yeah. Big tune.
Again, big tune. Reminded me, I think I went on holiday in 2019, went to France, and that was like the song of like the summer. And now like it just doesn't just make me think of that holiday, it just makes me think of holiday just nice and as I say, on a desert island, that is a tune for a desert island.
I think Bakar,
that's why
I just think overall Bakar brings really good vibes to most things he's on. Like he'd done that track with H, which was one of the standouts of the year.
Yes.
He's also got another. What's the tune? NW3. Is that the tune by Bakar?
Yeah.
So I've got this infamous playlist, right, called the I Should Abuse Stimulants. That's the title of the playlist, and it's basically just the songs that we would listen to like through college years with the boys. We'd go out drinking. And then I come back to my house like a bit pissed, like pretending that I'm not pissed. Go just skulk off to my bedroom, jump into bed, lights off, and then just my Alexa on like 3 volume, just playing this playlist. And I think NW3 was like one of the big standouts of that tune. And there's another one of these tunes that's like on my list that's actually like the standout of that tune. But that Bakar just gives me like those vibes every time I think of him.
And he's the sort of person you go into their catalogue and there's just got like he's got so many of the same sort of songs, but they're all just they are bangers.
It's like I've had a similar time with Georgia Smith. Where it's like I know a few tunes and I think they're really good. I've never like taken the dive and just really gone in. But I know that if I would, there'd be kind of enough there that's substantial for me to like enjoy them and claim them as an artist I like.
Yeah, because one of those acts as well that I'd love to see live. I think he was at Reading, and there was no chance you could get in that tent if you weren't early. Like we walked over to it, and it was heaving. Like you could not get into it.
Because I think I intended to go see Bakar, but I think it was just one of them ones where I kind of say, oh, I'll probably go see them if I'm not doing anything else. But then realistically, anything, like you just be doing nothing and that'll count as anything else. It's kind of one of them. So, number 8, so we've done number 10, number 9. So my number 8, what's my number 8 going to be? I've got my list up in front of me and I don't know which ones to go with first and which ones to rattle off.
That's what mine is.
I'll just go with... Okay, so I'll go with for number 8, I'll go with Love Again by Dua Lipa.
Oh, okay.
I think it's honestly Dua Lipa's best song. I think...
Really? Yeah.
I love that sample. I think that sample's phenomenal. And like the bass line, so sick. I just really like this tune. It's really good pop songwriting. And I just like... Of that, like, I love that album in full. But I think Love Again and Pretty Please were the two that really stood out. I think, and I've gone with Love Again. I think that's a big song.
No.
I'm kind of rattling off. I'm kind of rattling off all the ones that are just kind of bangers.
Yeah, but
then later on I'll get into the more. I can get into the more somber ones a bit later on. But I'm rattling off the bangers.
That is a banger.
Dua
to be
Lipa.
fair, ever since I saw, go on.
She's meant to be coming out with a new album this year, hopefully, potentially.
Yeah.
Nothing's been announced, but
I remember the Rage Year. I remember the Rage Year at Reading. Everyone was just expecting her to be announced, and she just wasn't. But ever since her, I think, performance at 2018 in Reading, like I saw her at 2018, and she was really, really good. And that was just as One Kiss had come out as well, and it was like just such a good atmosphere.
I think she's probably at this point, like now that we've had Monkeys and Foals, think Dua Lipa is probably, her and Kendrick Lamar are like still my last two like most requested artists for Reading and Leeds. I think that says a lot considering like it's mainly that second album from Dua Lipa that does a lot of the heavy lifting. But yeah, that's my number 8, Dua Lipa, Love Again. Big song.
Yeah. No, good choice. Trying to think what I'm going to go into now. I'll actually, I'll go for this. So this is an act that was at 2018 Reading, and since about 2017, I'd say to probably like Lockdown was probably my favourite artist, or at least most listened to artist on Spotify and stuff. I'm going to go for a Post Malone song. And there's so many Post Malone songs that I could have picked. Better Now was one that I'd probably listened to the most, but probably not my favourite. I'm going to go for White Iverson, I think.
Okay, I'm not too familiar with Posts, so you might have to delve in.
Really?
On this one.
Really interesting.
I'm not. Do you know what it is? I know. He's one of the acts that I would really like to get into, but I just don't have the time or the patience to do it. He's a bit like Radiohead for me, where I really wish I could say I love Post Malone and Radiohead, but I really just can't be asked to delve into either.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So Post Malone, I think, like I think most people did, but I got into him at the Stoney album, so it was his debut album. And there's so many tracks on it. I mean, I think his first and second album are a lot better than his third, a lot stronger than his third. And then his fourth, I don't know, I'll probably prefer his fourth to his third. But yeah, I think this is a track off his first album, White Iverson. And I just think his first two are just a lot more sort of like, especially that first album, it's such a storyline to his album, and it's so like it's actually really, really nice music, whereas I feel like now he's just kind of pumping out songs, and he can do that because he's got a huge following, and I'm not going to take that away from him. But seeing him at 2018 Reading, I didn't go to 2019, but I bet that was incredible, and I've heard really good things, that set. But his 2018 set was ridiculous. And then when seeing him at 2021 as well, I was just a bit like, you don't really care now. Like you're being paid to headline, and you've done the exact same show you did before lockdown. Like, I think, but he's an incredible artist, and I think his early stuff, his first two albums are masterpieces, and I would really get you to check them out. And I don't bother with the other two.
I think of the 2021 headliners at Reading and Leeds, Post was the one that I didn't see, just because I didn't know enough. But he's definitely an act that, like, if I wasn't preoccupied, or like if I genuinely had nothing else on, I'd probably go ahead and give Post Malone a watch and have a bit of fun with it. But I just think, like, on the Sunday night at Leeds, when you just want to get back to camp and make sure everything's kind of like still intact, it's like Post Malone just wasn't the vibe for me. I was kind of just like, I'd rather just go back and set up a fire. Do you know what I mean? Like,
no, I get it. I do get it. And he is one of those acts that if you like him, he's sick. But if you don't, you'd be like someone on stage.
The thing is, like, especially in like our community, I think a lot of people really like Post Malone. That's the vibe that I get, because even like when Duty Rhino was doing the festival stuff, he was a very big like Post Malone guy, and I think that kind of rubbed off on everyone else.
I think he hits that rock to rap middle pit, doesn't he? Because he's not a rapper and he's not a rock artist, but he's sort of like that sort of old schooly heavy act that is just singing, and that's why his early stuff's so good, because he's just singing from his heart but shouting, screaming. He's a brilliant artist. He really is.
100%. I'm going to go with my number 7 now. I don't know how familiar you are with Fontaine's DC, but my number 7... So my number 7 is one of the tracks off their second album. It's called The Lucid Dream. It's one of the first tracks I heard by them. Their second album is an album that I stand by. I don't think it's their best album. I think it's their worst album. And overall, I don't think it's a very good album. Or at least personally, it's not. It's just kind of not for me. But it has some of Fontaine's best work on it. And The Lucid Dream kind of is one of those tracks. He really sounds like a mix of like... He sounds like Liam Gallagher over a Joy Division track on this tune. And it's so sick, like the way that he does it. I love the drums in it. I love the bass lines. It's one of the first ever bass lines I ever learned on bass. Like, it's
Really?
just a
Yeah.
sick tune. And it's one of them where it, like, just proper is, like, you hear that opening drum line and you're like, okay, let's have some.
Let's do it. Yeah.
I picked it because, like, a lot of the tunes when you get to the back half of this are very much, like, a bit slower, a bit more earnest.
Yeah.
And when I was going through and picking them, I wanted one that was a bit more like, okay, let's bit up and at 'em. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
Fontaine's for that. I think it's, like I said, it's off their worst album. It's an album that I still can't really come round to. I think their album since their most recent album is phenomenal. And if anyone doesn't know that, or if you don't know that,
I actually have heard a bit of that.
I think that's one to get on. It's pretty short as well, so it's not like, do you know what I mean? It's not one that'll take up your whole day or anything. But
No.
and we went to Dublin to see him just based on this third album, and it was just one of the greatest like weekends I've ever had. It was such a good time with the boys, and A Lucid Dream really sums up that like real up and at 'em attitude.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, Fontaine's DC for me has just been one that I don't have anything against them. I really don't. It's just one of those bands that when people started to really talk about them, I tried listening to them and then they just didn't hook me. So then I just never really pursued.
It's weird with Fontaine's because they're kind of like, I know a lot of people that, so Fontaine's are like, at the minute they're considered as like a big indie act, like similar to like Sam Fender, like Inhaler, those kind of guys.
Yeah.
I don't see Fontaine's as like an indie act. Like for me, it's totally removed because the way I got into Fontaine's, like a bunch of my mates through college were very post-punk. So like the bands we were listening to at the time were like Idols, Fontaine, Shame, Sports Team, those kind of guys. So like Sports Team as well, and Fontaine's are two acts that I don't really kind of think of as indie, even though they probably are now. But that second album is like Fontaine's at their most pop punk, and it's kind of it almost turned me off a bit because it was a bit too moody and depressing. Whereas now that with their third album, with Skinny Fear, they've kind of brought back in. They do sound more like an indie band, and they've found like a really good mix of like that post punk, moody sensibility with this new kind of indie, very melodic, like nice guitar sounds. I think they've jammed the two together really well. So
I must admit, I think well, I've got a friend who really likes them, and he was showing me some in the car not too long ago, just before Christmas, and that was one of the first times I was listening to it, and I was like, I can understand this now. Yeah, like I was enjoying it, and that was, I think, on Skinny Fear. But
100%.
I really, I can appreciate them, and I can appreciate, they don't have a cult following for no reason.
Yeah, 100%. I'll let you push on.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. Okay, I'll go again on the sort of the same line as you. I'm gonna go with a Latham song. Yeah, anyone who knows me and the me and the page, they'll know how much I like the Lathams, like Ruben with his CVC. I'm gonna go for the Lathams. I could have gone really easy and just gone Fight On or something from that album, but I'm actually going to go to one of their older songs that they don't ever redo anymore, and it's Villainous Victorian. Right. Really, really interesting tune. The very first song I listened to of theirs and how I got into them. One of the most unique songs you'll ever listen to. Really, really. I think the way they did it was they based it off of a Horrible History episode, and they wrote down all the words on the Horrible History episodes and put it into a song. Okay. And it's just that sort of, it's almost like aggressive, quick, and just a song that, opposite to the Fontaine, that was the song, and then straight away I was hooked. Like, you listen to a song, and then you're hooked, and then you will listen to the thing. So if I had never listened to that song, I might not go into them. So that's why I went for that. They're a funny one, the Lathams. I think people either love them or hate them. I don't know what your opinion are on them.
I don't know enough about them to like say I hate them. I can't say I hate them because I don't know enough about them, but I'm not a fan, and I'm more in the camp. I'm more in the no camp than I am in the yes camp.
Yeah.
And for me, as far as I know, I'd probably put them of like a 4 out of 10 on the scale. I don't have anything like major to dislike them for. It's just kind of like, I just think indie music at the minute, in general, is just kind of, it's beyond me at this point. I'm kind of having a bit of like, I'm almost reverting back into like an emo phase at this point, just because I just feel like indie's not doing it for me at the minute. There's something about like the Tumblr culture of like 2015, 2016 that made indie really good. And I think without it, it's kind of just lacking a bit. No one's really standing out to me. Like, when you think back in the day of like that kind of Tumblr days, you had like people making aesthetics almost for the bands.
Yeah.
And you had like 1975 doing the whole pink thing, Catfish and the Bottlemen doing the black and white thing. You had Halsey about, Circa Waves were about, like Arctic Monkeys were still huge off of AM. And it was kind of that era where everything was happening. And I feel like the death of Tumblr now has almost made it like, it's removed a lot of like the aesthetic culture from indie music.
Yeah,
so now you've kind of like a lot of these indie bands, they're kind of just doing the same thing now, because a lot of the time it was the aesthetic would inform a lot of the music. And I think like without that aesthetic quality, it's kind of just a bit dull. I think there's a lot of like football culture coming into indie music at the minute, and it's fine. Like it's just not for me though.
I do get that. And I can understand how people who would listen to Latham's would just think it kind of just blurs into everything else. You mentioned football culture. Just one of the bands that came to mind when we were just talking about that is Yard Act.
Yeah,
and that's 100%. That's just a band when I saw them at Truck when I saw you there, and I was just. And they're an act that is very easy to just sort of turn your nose up at, and that's how I felt, and I can understand that with the Lathams. But the Lathams, for some reason, hooked me, and I've seen them very intimate. I've seen them in a room with less than 1,000 people. I've seen them at a festival, and I've loved them every time. So it's just funny how bands hook onto people.
It's kind of like like whenever I'm doing like a lineup prediction or like a lineup wish list, that I need just like an indie act to fill like a day slot. It's like a filler indie act to fill the day slot. The first ones I go to are like the Snuts, the Raytons. It's like the Snuts, the Raytons, the Lathams, or Jamie Webster. They're like the four. So I find it kind of hard to get out of that mindset. But
it's funny actually because you mentioned those and they all do blur into one. But like the Snuts are, I can appreciate them. But again, I'm not like gripped by them, and same with the Raytons.
I think of those four, the Snuts are the one that stand out to me as having a bit more about them. I think like Inhaler are on a totally different level. I think Inhaler would have like if Tumblr and that whole thing was still around, Inhaler would have really benefited from that. I think Inhaler play into that really well, and they could have like it worked really well for them. But no, I just think Snuts are the ones that really kind of stand out of the indie acts at the minute, but that seems to be about it. I'll jump onto my number 6. Ooh, I'm going to go with an oldie. Well, say an oldie. I'm going to go with the Smiths. Right, I'm going to go with
that is an oldie.
I'm going to go with What Difference Does It Make? It's one of my favourite songs ever. Let me just pull up my notes a bit more clearly. Yeah, one of my favourite Smith songs ever. It's another one that's just great at getting me hyped and just making me want to fucking get a bit loose. It's just that opening guitar part. It's another part where, like, just like the Fontaines one, when you hear those drums. Whereas, like, in the Smiths, What Difference Does It Make? You hear that guitar and you go, okay, I know what time it is. Like, it's one of those tunes that I'll be listening to the Smiths and I'll be, like, deep in it and just being like, wow, it's the Smiths. They're so good. And then What Difference Does It Make? And all sense of, like, this is the Smiths just goes out the window, and I'm like, no, this is a banger. Like, I need to go for it. That's somewhere you can't, because it sounds like it could have come out now. What difference does it make? Especially like with all the remasters and stuff. Like, it just sounds like something. It doesn't sound anything. It's weird because it sounds so much like the Smiths, but it also doesn't sound anything like the Smiths in some way. It's not that kind of very classic Smiths key, but there's just something about the guitars where you go, that okay, that's got to be Johnny Marr. But I just love that song. And I think it's like, it's so different from all like the other popular Smiths songs. I think the only one that even comes close to like What Difference Does It Make is probably like How Soon Is Now. But of those two, What Difference Does It Make is just the one that I'm like, it's way closer to my heart in that.
So I'm glad you brought in something that because most of my selections I think are within the last probably 15 years.
Yeah,
so
most of
for
mine
you
are.
to bring in something, oh, that's really nice. So
That's the
then
earliest that's the earliest it gets,
yeah.
though. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, but no, that's good though. That's good, and it's good to acknowledge that music. And as you say, we have found that so many music pieces, whether it be just because of a TV show or something, especially recently, like a lot of old music have come back into the charts. And I think with streams and Spotify and TikTok, it just means that
100%.
these sort of older tracks, like that, one day could probably just
pop off all of a sudden.
Yeah, exactly.
Imagine. The Smiths become a TikTok staple. Nuts.
Make it happen.
The thing is, as well, you would eventually get to the point where cancel culture find out about Morrissey, and that's where the shift would happen. That's where we know that it's gone too far. But I'll let you crack on with your number 5. Your number 6.
I don't know what to go for actually. I'll keep it in tune. I'll keep it in tune with your honourable mention. Actually, I'll go for a Sam Fender song. I think.
Okay.
Now again, the same with you. There are a lot to choose from. I mean, you've obviously put The Borders as like your number one. I went. This was based off of pure. The reason I went for this is because it was like my second most streamed song on Spotify, and I've got Hypersonic Missiles.
Oh, okay. So classic.
And it is a classic, and I think that just showed the sort of rise in him. Like I remember when 17 Going Under first came out, and we were singing it at Reading, and I remember looking at that, and it had like 1 million streams after being out for like a month, and then all of a sudden he just blew up, and it kind of feels a bit annoying, that he's so big now.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
That's the thing. So that's why I've kind of fallen out of love with him.
I
was talking to Sam about this last night and saying like I feel like the same's gonna happen with Wet Leg very soon, and I'm trying to preserve as much as possible because I know how bad
that's
it gets.
too far gone already. That's too far gone.
Because with Sam Fender, like I remember when I first found out about him, and for like that first album, he was probably in my top 10 artists of all time, probably closer to top 7.
Yeah.
And then something happened, and then I think I seen him live, Reading and Leeds 2021. And he was like fine, but he was probably like the least act on that weekend that I just remembered anything about. He was like one of them ones where I just don't remember a single thing he did. I kind of remember where I was in the crowd and what was going on around me and what songs he did, but apart from that, it didn't really leave anything with me. So I think after that, to then go away from that and just be like, oh, he was alright live, and then to hear everyone be like, nah, Sam Fender's amazing live. Sam Fender's so good. Like you've got to see him live to believe it. And I'm like, I've seen him live twice at 2 festivals, and both times he's been the most forgettable act of the weekend. It's like I kind of fell out, and then just seeing him everywhere kind of made me fall out of love with him. And now it's like with Wet Leg, I've seen him a few times. They've been great both times, luckily. But I've kind of had a year of just knowing about Wet Leg, and now I'm kind of just need some time in between now and Leeds this year to kind of reset and just not think about Wet Leg anymore. I feel like they would have been, if they got booked in 2022, I would have been buzzing for it, and I would have gone and seen them, and it would have been sick. But I just think it's a year too late this year.
No, I get that. I think with Sam Fender it's annoying because you say obviously it's a mainstream one that I chose. I mean, it was either that or something like Dead Boys or The Borders. To be fair, anything from that first album just reminds me of when he was like almost so like raw and just so like not mainstream. Like
because the first time I heard anything about Sam Fender, I got told that it was similar to the Snuts. I got tipped off like by, I think it was my sister, that he'd been picked up by like Catfish and the Bottlemen, and they were the guys that had really discovered him and brought him up, and I was like, okay, that's badass. Let's get on that. And I kind of thought of Sam Fender as like this second coming of Catfish, and now obviously with Catfish dying out, we need something like that. But it's obviously I don't think it's gone the way it should have.
No, I think TikTok has brought. The thing is that's what I was about to say to you. I remember literally at that Reading 2021, and he wasn't quite at that level yet. But because 17 are Going Under, just the song had just come out, and it only had like 1 million streams, and I was like, why has this not got more? Like this is like going to be his main song. And then it obviously got picked up by TikTok, and that's what's just elevated him. I mean, I wanted to see him at Finsbury Park, and that's the best I've seen him, Finsbury Park. I think I've seen him 3 times, and that's
I think
the best I've seen
the
him.
Brit Awards always does wonders for acts like that as well. Whenever they do the Brit Awards, you'll know about it. It's people like him, Dave, the 1975. Whenever they play the Brit Awards, it's a pretty big thing. Capaldi, Ed Sheeran, but I think the Brit Awards just does good for alternative acts. So when they don't, in the way that they won't give alternative acts awards, they'll give them kind of a pedestal to make a career out of, essentially.
But it's funny you mentioned the Brit Awards. I was going to mention this a bit later on, but one of my songs I've chosen is a Bastille song.
Okay.
And the reason I picked the Bastille song is because it was basically one of the first acts I think I ever really liked. Like I was 12 or something, and their first album had just come out. And again, I remember seeing them at the Brit Awards, and they did like something with Rudimental or something. But they never, although they're huge, obviously, they never really went on. They never really hit that next, like
superstar.
Status, and they never hit that. And then they all of a sudden have just been there or thereabouts, but never quite hit that superstar status. And it's a funny one because I get that they're very as well. They're you love them or you hate them, but. Yeah, it's just funny how some people get really, really picked up, whether they're just not good enough or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like in Bastille's early days as well, they were very like universally agreed on. Everyone kind of just went, Bastille are pretty good. Whereas now I feel like they've just made a few bad moves, and it's kind of cost them quite a lot. Whereas I think if you kind of ironed out those moves that they like and poor decisions they made, I feel like they might be in a different position.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it?
Or if they didn't spend such a long time away in between, because I remember they went away for a while and then came back. Maybe that was the thing that halted it.
Yeah, perhaps, because they had that sort of first album with Flaws, Pompeii, etc. on.
Yeah, you went through to like Rhythm of the Night, Good Grief, Send Them Off.
Yeah.
And then I remember just not hearing anything about them for years, and then we have Happier with Marshmallow. And it's just totally. And
then it went into Doom Days, and no, I get that. Maybe because Send Them Off. We're talking about Bastille. I haven't even said them yet, but you mentioned Send Them Off. Like for me, being a fan, I remember that feeling like it took ages to come out, but actually the gap then from Send Them Off, because everyone was talking about them again, it was on FIFA and everything.
Yeah.
So then the next album was just like a little bit too long.
Yeah, 100%. I'll jump into my number 5 so that we can quickly get to Bastille. I'll go with like kind of a quick fire one. I'll go with Champagne Supernova by Oasis.
Oh, nice.
It's probably
great chill.
Like another older one. I just think the whole song's like a release. Like there's not a second of it where I'm just like inhaling. The whole thing is just to exhale. Yeah, and just release everything. I find every second of this tune therapeutic, and like it was. I'd never before 2022. I probably wouldn't have ever said it was like my favorite Oasis song.
No,
like that spot's reserved for like Stand By Me, Slide Away, those kind of tunes. But I remember Nebworth this year, seeing him do that at Nebworth. I was with Finn, and I kind of remember getting back to the hotel, and waking up the next morning and being like, and just turning to Finn and being like, how good is Champagne Supernova? I just woke up and that was just my first thought. It hadn't even registered the night of, but I just woke up and was like, Champagne Supernova was phenomenal. And it's just ever since it's been like a standout. I got that, the Oasis like Nebworth 96 album, so I managed to get like the vinyl copy of that. It's pretty rare.
Oh, nice.
Like it's pretty hard you don't see it a lot, but I managed to get it, and every single time that comes on it, it's just phenomenal. It's like it's the very last side. I think it's like 3 discs.
Yeah.
And there's like 3 songs per disc, and that's on the very last one. It's just phenomenal. It's so good. I did debate having an Oasis song on mine. The thing is, I've never been like massive on Oasis, but like some like good songs are good songs. You know what I mean? It's one of them where it's like I don't know if Oasis would get into my all-time top 10 acts. I think they're around, but I don't think they're in that top 10.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
But like that song, regardless of where they are, I think that song is just beyond.
Yeah. No, No, I would agree. Like, I don't know if they'd even be in my top 10, but there are certain songs, and definitely one of them are just. It's just a top tier song, and they deserve sort of that credit for that. I mean, you could go a lot more mainstream because they're still good songs. Don't Look Back in Anger and whatever. But and Stand By Me is another great one to mention. But I don't know if I would put them in my top 10. I think I'm the same with you. They're just kind of there, and they're always going to be good listening.
They're like near and around.
Yeah,
but I don't. I think they would only ever break like 12th.
Yeah.
I think they get like number 11 snatched off them by someone like the Wombats or someone ridiculous like that. The Wombats are coming at number 11, and I'd just be like, nah, Oasis can't be above the Wombats, man.
To be fair, that is one of them things where you then look at like a band like that and you're like, I actually listen to them more and like them more.
Yeah, 100%.
So let's just I mean, my Bastille one's a bit cheeky because I really couldn't think of a song, but you could take anything off that first album. Floors, These Streets, Of the Night you mentioned, they're probably the top 3. But yeah, no, I think with Bastille, as we mentioned, like, I don't know, I mean, I know like Jack, like speak to Jack Webb about it, he hates them. Speak to Ruben about them, he hates them. Like, people just don't like them, and I don't really know why. They're a bit poppy, but
I think of my group, I'm the most open to Bastille. I wouldn't say I'm a fan, but like they've got tunes that I look back to that early stuff and I go, do you know what, Rhythm is a Dancer, bitchin'. But like I'd never, but like that's way more open to them than a lot of my mates are.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? But for me, I just have a soft spot because I was young, I loved them, and I think I still also would easily say they're up there with. In terms of contrast between record and live performance, I must admit their live performance is brilliant, and that's never gone downhill on it.
Do you know what? I do regret not paying more attention when Bastille were on it this year, because like we watched them from the back, and it kind of, I remember just feeling a bit like I'd rather not be here, even though the whole time I was like, I'd happily go see Bastille, and then when I actually got there, I was like just looking for something else to do.
Yeah.
And we bumped into Heather from Pale Waves while they were on, so that didn't help. We were just like eating, and they just all kind of walked past, and we were just there like, oh my god, okay. So that kind of ruined. I was like, the whole time I was like, yo, we just met Heather from Pale Waves. Yeah. So it kind of ruined the experience. But they're a band that, like, if there's nothing else on, if the crowd's not too hard to get into, I'd happily see them. Yeah, but especially like the crowd at Leeds this year was a joke, and the placement of the new stage is not great for like trying to get close, or like at least trying to be able to see. No, because at West, like it's West at Leeds. I don't know if I read it, but West is very like wide at Leeds, so you can be like watching a band, but at the same time, there's not even like a stage or screens directly in front of you. You're just looking into trees.
Yeah.
And more people, so that's. Kind of, it makes going to see people at West a lot more like if you want to see, you are got to be a lot more committed. Like if you're going to go see, because whereas at East it's long the way, so at the back you can see, whereas at West if you want to see, you've got to get in. So it's like there's certain bands that I'm happy to commit for that, but like. Yeah. There's certain ones that were like Megan Thee Stallion as well. I'm not committing to that. Do you know what I mean? I watch
She's actually unreal.
Yeah, she was pretty good, but that was one where I was kind of like, I'll just watch it from an angle.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
But yeah, so Bastille, you actually mentioned earlier as well. This is something I wanted to touch upon.
Go on.
Top songs on Spotify of all time. Do you know what like your top 5 songs on Spotify of all time are? Or do you have anything
number one is a really, really random one.
Go on.
I think it's a Kid Laroi song. And I don't know how.
What, of all time?
Yep.
That's bad.
And I think it's because I was like probably like 18 or 19. When was he even big? Maybe I was 20. And I just think I listened to it so much, it just overtook my top track.
Because I've just looked up mine, and like my top 3 is the most me top 3 I think I've ever seen. Like for maybe 4 years, I was walking around being like, yeah, my favourite bands of all time, like my holy trinity are like Catfish, the 1975 Arctic Monkeys.
Class.
And I'm like,
then.
and then the top 3 songs on like that I've got from them. It's not just like a niche Catfish song or a niche 1975 song. It's literally like number 3 is "Are You Mine," number 2 is "Sex," and number 1 is "Kathleen" by Catfish.
Oh,
it's
class.
Just like
that's good though.
The holy 3, but that's pretty.
That is good.
And then you get further down my list, and you've got like "Still Take You Home," "Love Me," "My Propeller." This charming man's in there.
That is good, to be fair. So I've got "Without You," "Hypersonic Missiles," which I said, "Will We Talk." I've actually got a Machine Gun Kelly song in top 5.
Oh God.
Which is I know. Which is with Black Bear, my ex's best friend. I think the thing is with my Spotify though is like I listen to so many, like I listen to vinyl, I listen to and like I've got some albums, some CDs in my car as well. So like certain artists, I'll just play through that. And so then my Spotify literally songs where I get into a song, add them to a playlist, and then just listen or just like listen to charts.
Yeah, so it's just kind of like random picked up songs.
Yeah.
Whereas so when I'll make a playlist, I'll usually go through it literally artist by artist. So you'll have like 20 Catfish songs together. 20.
Yes. Yeah.
Got you. I'll jump in my number 4 now. Ooh, I don't know what to pick because these are all like big. These are all heavy hitters.
Do you have a rap song in there?
I do have a rap song in there.
I have one rap, and that's just because it's like one of my favourite songs.
Yeah, this now the last 4 is like my 4 favourite songs ever.
Yeah.
I know what my number 1 favourite song ever is, so that's safe till the end. But now I'm just deciding where to go, what the content benefits from. I'm going to go with number 4. Since we were talking about him, I'll bring up the 1975. I've gone with "Somebody Else." I think.
What a tune!
I think
what a song.
That tune is the closest thing to a modern classic that I've heard ever. It's like the closest thing to a modern classic. It is a song that is genuinely, I genuinely hand on heart believe it is timeless. It could have come out whenever. I managed to get my mum into the 1975, and she's got a few songs in her car. One of them is "Somebody Else," and I remember she'll sit in her car and she'll be like, "This sounds like 80s trance," or else "This sounds like something you listen to in a club in the 90s."
Yeah, no, I get that.
It's like, is it 80s trance? Is it like 70s glam pop? Is it like something you listen to in a club in the 90s, or is it just like indie bedroom rock? It's genuinely like a really timeless track, and I think it's so and the lyrical stuff in it is like, it's so simple and anyone could have wrote it. And it's because it's so universal, but it's also like there's just something about it that's so different and like a different approach that no one else ever would have written it.
Yeah, the funny thing is about 1975 for me, like it was one that if you asked me probably in like 2018 what's my least favourite act, I'd say is 1975.
Yeah.
And I stuck by that for a little while, and then I started listening to them. I was like, they're actually okay. Yeah. And then they were at this year's Reading, and my girlfriend loves them, Ruben loves them, so a couple of my mates like them. So we just went to them, and we were near the front, and I was watching this, and I was like, this is the best set of the weekend.
Yeah.
And I was just like, and then from then I was from hooked. So I've only liked them for like half a year, and then I've seen them just now, like literally a week ago in Brighton. Yeah. And again, their show was phenomenal, and I just got to give it to them.
For me, I took a lot of convincing to get into the 1975. I remember, not because I didn't like it, but like I'd heard a few songs, and I just felt like there was so much music that it was one of them where I was like, I don't really have the time or the patience to try and get into all this, especially when a lot of it's ambient. And you don't know what you're really getting into when you put on one of their albums. Yeah. So I remember kind of getting into a few songs at a time, and then a lot of the people like in the year, like a lot of the girls in the year below me that I was like mates with, they were like proper 1975 kids, and like you know, like 21 Pilots, Suicide Squad, and 1975, and Doc Martens. That's those sort of people. It was very much that. Yeah. And I remember,
it was actually,
I remember being like, it was the 3 that I always used to get like kind of into were like 21 Pilots and 1975 Halsey. Halsey was, and then the 1975 just was the one that stuck because I remember watching their like big weekend. I think this was after A Brief Inquiry had come out.
Yeah.
Because they played I Like America. So I must have known and I remember the singles from that album coming out. So I must have been kind of into them then.
Yeah.
So I must have had like 7 or 8 songs saved in the bank by this point. Brief Inquiry comes out, and I must have saved 6 or 7 from that when that came out, and then not really delved into the full album.
Yeah,
but then
makes sense.
But then when I seen them play Big Weekend, I was like, holy shit. I was like, I need to get on this. And this was 2019 as well, the year they played Reading and Leeds. I didn't already have a ticket. I remember it was 2 weeks. I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks between. I remember me and one of my mates that I went to school with, and like someone that I'd known since primary school, we were all just like, right, I want to see the 1975. Shall we just get tickets, like last minute tickets? So we bought tickets 3 days before on like Reading and Leeds. So we bought 3 days out. We bought day tickets for Leeds Fest 2019 for that Saturday. And went and saw the 1975, and I remember like blasting loads of Royal Blood and Wombats in the car just to learn a bit more, because I'd known bits, but I needed to know a bit more. So I remember just like in that 3 days committing to really trying to learn a lot of Royal Blood and Wombat songs. So
that's what, I remember doing that to track as well this year.
So came away from that knowing like a set list and a fair amount from each album, and then I kind of just like that was when like kind of Notes on a Conditional Form hype was going as well. So it was like you knew you were looking forward to something, and I had time to get through all the old stuff. So that's kind of when I went back through, and I really committed to the 1975.
No, I respect.
And ever since, I've just been like a 1975
like a fanboy.
Yeah, literally.
Have you seen them on this new tour?
I've not managed to yet, but I'm seeing them in Liverpool.
Oh, mate,
so
it's such a good tour.
I remember getting tickets. So I got a pre-sale code for this tour for the Manchester, because I was going to go to the Manchester date, and then I woke up too late the day the pre-sale was. Same thing happened with Arctic Monkeys as well. I missed the tickets for the pre-sale, so I was done for. So I didn't manage to get tickets, but then a girl I knew did manage to buy some tickets from via GoGo, which I don't recommend doing because they're fucking scamming bastards. And she was like, she messaged me a few days later being like, I kind of bought them on a whim and I don't actually really want to go, and my ex-boyfriend's going, who you're really good mates with, so do you just want to go with him? And I was like, I was if you're giving me the tickets, I was like, absolutely. So she's giving me 2 tickets. So that's
why I'm kind of blessed to live down south, because like maybe not like London, but anything south like doesn't really sell out that quick. So like we did the same with Monkeys. I kind of forgot, and then managed to get Southampton Ageas Bowl tickets like
I'm still
hours later.
I'm still in a place of like checking Ticketmaster every day looking for what is it, Emirate, the Manchester Monkeys tickets. I'm still checking Ticketmaster every day because there's just none coming up. Because I think basically I have 2 friendship groups, so I have like my home friends and my uni mates. And we'd all talked about doing like Manchester, and I didn't know what, because there's 2 Manchester dates. So I didn't know if we would end up getting the same day, like with my home friends or my uni friends, and I didn't know. I was torn between who I would get them with, but it turns out it just so happens like so. All my uni friends, no, not even that. So all my uni friends, I didn't think they were getting tickets, but someone from their home has bought them a bunch of tickets, so they're all going to the date on the 3rd of June. And then my mates from home, I was like, did you manage to get Monkeys tickets? And they're like, yeah, we're going on the 3rd. So everyone's going on the 3rd. So now there's 2 of us left. So me and a lad called Kyle, and we're just we're watching Ticketmaster just to try and get 2 more tickets
begging
to the 3rd.
To get those.
Because at this point in our group, there'll be like 12 already going. Yeah, and it's like, surely 12 of us aren't getting tickets, and like 2 of us are missing out. This is not happening. So we're keeping big eyes on Ticketmaster.
Nah, that's a good idea. That's your best bet.
But so I managed to get those 2 for the Liverpool date for the 1975. So that'll be really fun.
Oh mate, it's unbelievable. We went on the first day of their tour, and it was so good, so good.
The only thing is like Liverpool's just like a bit of a trek. I know like I'm only Manchester, and it's not too bad, but like it's still a trek to get back from. I think our aim is to just go out and then come back in the first train in the morning.
Yeah,
that's the goal. But if I can stay standing that long, we'll find out.
Right, so I'll go on to my 4th. This one is going to be it's sort of for a top 5. It's a bit of a throwaway, but the reason I picked it is because when I was a kid, we well, not a kid, probably like 10 years ago, we we would listen every New Year's. I'd be in with my family and we'd watch like Jules Holland be the classic and whatever.
Yeah.
And there was this one band on it, really, really random, and they're called Caravan Palace, right? Really, really bizarre.
Okay.
Some French woman fronts it. Anyway, my dad's loved it ever since, and he's like,
Okay.
"Yep, play it at my funeral or whatever." And it's just one of their songs. It's called Lone Digger. It's really random, and like I couldn't tell you one lyric on it, but I just know exactly what it sounds like. And I was like, I have to throw something like that in.
Is it just kind of one of them tunes that like it's almost like an in joke?
It's
now?
mental.
It's almost like
it's
an
mental.
in joke
yes.
now. Where it's just like the family just bring it up every now and then. Oh, what tune is it now?
It's so bad. It's such a bad song, but it is like it's just one of them ones where it's just like that's so funny.
What's it called?
But it's called Lone Digger by Caravan Palace.
Right, I'm intrigued now. I'm gonna when I see you. At
Imagine what sort of music's on Jules Holland. You know they get some really rogue acts.
I'm gonna when I bump into you inevitably at truck, I'm gonna bring this up, and I'm not gonna.
Yes.
I'm gonna. We'll forget all about this conversation. I'll bring it up.
Speaking of which, I can't wait for the track lineup. I'm very
man. I did something new. I can't remember what it was. I just got chatting to someone about it, being like, "Oh, I hope this person plays," and that really inspired me. So I was like, "I'm gonna make a prediction poster."
Who did you predict? What was your headliners?
Idols, Falls, Florence.
Yeah, that's decent.
Those
ones. If I could do it.
Think they're a bit big.
Bit too big.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I think it'd be
came to me.
I think it'd be a nuts booking if they got them. I think it'd be fucking sick booking if they got them.
Show intent, wouldn't it?
But no. So I kind of put out this prediction poster, and it was the worst thing. Like the lines of like rows of artists aren't even in line. There's no sponsors or no. There's not even like. There's nothing.
You just wanted something out.
There's nothing on it to even suggest that it's a 2023 version. But I posted it, and all the retweets were like, "Holy shit! I thought this was real for a second." I'm like,
decent.
Guys, we're meant to be better than this. How are we meant to avoid Reading and Leeds bullshit speculation when we can't even get a simple truck poster? Like the background for the poster wasn't even like truck background stuff. You know how they always have like a pattern in the background? I think I just googled something like pastel pastel patterns, saved 4 of them, and then just kind of placed them randomly along the end. And people were like, "Yo, I thought this is real." I kind of like with that I just cracked down and I was like, right, well if people think it's real, I'm gonna kind of.
You end up on the Oxford Live.
I was like, I'm gonna jump on this, and I just replied to everyone, being like, in truck, being like, yeah, guys, hire me, like to do your lineups in future.
Oh yeah, I've just found it. Oh, to be fair, it's just not bad.
It's that's the thing. It's like it's a good lineup, but it's just the fact that so many people were tricked by it.
I do think Fontaine's could be there.
I think Fontaine's will be there. I don't think they're gonna headline like people are saying.
I think Fontaine's could do the.
I think they could do the
Thursday. Yeah,
but I don't think they'll be one of your main headliners. I think that's wild.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking back at that poster now. But like, Tom Megan,
bad, to be fair.
That would be funny. I wonder how big of a crowd Tom Megan would get a truck.
Yeah.
Or Joe Corey. Is that a bit too big for truck?
Don't really know. DJs are a bit of a weird one, aren't they?
Yeah, that's the thing, because you could literally have anyone, but you could also like. But like the thing is, because no one knows enough about DJs, so like we could suggest anyone, and we'll just get a million comments being like, "No, you're so wrong." Like, how do you not know?
I don't think your headliners are too far off, though. To be fair, I actually don't.
I think every year because it's like 6. Or maybe not even 6. I think there's 5 that they're just going to rotate every year. I think the other 2 are probably like Wilkinson and Brucey, and I just think it's those 5 on rotation.
Yeah.
But
right, what are we on now? Top 3?
Yeah. Do you want to? I'm trying to think. Am I starting with my 3 to let you finish? Yeah. Okay. So my third one, I've gone with Biffy Clyro, my favourite band in the world. Nice. I've gone with Different People by Biffy. It's just like it starts off, it's all sad and somber and wet, and it's just very nice and beautiful, very pretty.
Nice.
But then that second half is just, it comes at you like a fucking train, man. It's balls to the wall, and that's why I think it's in here, because it's like it's the only one that's really like got a nice juxtaposition of like what you've got, like 2 separate halves. You've got the somber half and then the really big like banger half. it's that melody in the chorus as well. There's just something about it where it's like, it's the type of melody that, like, now that I've heard it, I couldn't imagine my life not hearing it. I know that sounds a bit mad, but like a bit over the top. But it is that sort of thing where it's like, you know, like really obvious melodies that you kind of like. You know when you hear a song and you go, I feel like when I was playing with action figures back in the day, this was the type of soundtrack I was giving it. I feel like different people
It's what you needed in the background.
Yeah, this is what I needed, bro. Like, but that different people melody was like, I hear that and I'm like, how have I never come up with that myself? Because it's one where it like just feels so personal to me. I don't know about it. It just feels like something that
No, I get that. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to say something that I could have come up with, but it just feels like something where I'm like, why have I not come up with that? When it's like, it's perfect. It's exactly what I want from a melody. It's so me.
Yeah.
But that's my one, and like I couldn't not have any Biffy on this this. I think the two it was between was this and Machines. I think Machines is still probably my favourite Biffy song ever, but I think the last kind of two I've got here are kind of quite somber. So if I'm on a desert island, I'd rather like if I'm gonna be in Sad by Hours, let's just not make that the whole time. Do you know?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
No, that does make sense.
We'll have a short period of Sad by Hours, but mainly bangers.
Yeah.
Mainly bangers and Sunday.
Yeah. To be fair, you do need bangers. You just need songs that will just carry you through. And I mentioned at the start, this is my toss-up one. It was going to be a Murder on the Dance Floor.
Yeah.
Still could be, to be fair, that is a tune. But I'm going to go with, I just see them on your track poster actually, I'm going to go with a Hunter song.
Okay.
And I'm going to go for She's Casual. Nice and somber.
Okay.
What?
I really want to talk to someone about the Hunter. I'm glad you said this because the Hunter is a really strange band in my opinion. Because they've got some really fucking good songs. Like they're
really
in like
good. Really
at the minute
good.
like so I've got my main playlist that I like listen to like year round is called Based Playlist. And the Hunter have like 3 songs in there, and it's been the same 3 songs for like the past 2 years, but they just they will never leave that playlist, but they'll also never have anything that gets added to it because
that album, that one with I think it's called like 100 or something, isn't it?
100 by the Hunter.
That album will never ever be topped by them. They'll never make anything remotely as good, but nearly every single song is unbelievable. And I don't even know how I got into them. I think I was at college and I had we were all just that was sort of when I was getting into my like indie phase, and I had a mate that were into it, and they were just like, and while I was saying bands that I liked, this guy was like, the Hunter, and I was like, I don't think so. And then I was just hooked on them, and then She's Casual. The reason it was a toss up is because at college when I met my girlfriend, and that and Murder on the Dance Floor was like our 2 songs, so that's why I meant for She's Casual.
But the Hunter are a band that I like. I'm never going to claim to be a fan of, and a lot of time I'll spend my time just ripping them and taking the piss out of them. Yeah. But like, and for the most part, it's warranted. Like, I do think they've got 3 good. I do think they've got 3 good songs, and that's it. But like,
what are the songs that
I've gone? She's Casual, Bonfire, Dare. That's like their 3 good songs.
Yeah. There's another one I really like. Hang on, let me just find this. You carry on.
But no, like them are like 3 good songs by the Hunter, and that's it. No, they'll never make another good song, and but those songs will always be amazing. But like for a band, it's so weird. Like, 'cause I dislike them. Like I don't like the Hunter, but I've got such a soft spot for them.
Yeah,
it's such a strange thing of like I feel like that they've almost become such a novelty band to me. It
is weird. Like
I think it's like, you know, when bands, it's almost like post irony where it goes from like you kind of, it's ironic originally and you're taking the piss out of it. It's how I got into Limp Bizkit. It's like taking the piss and this is so funny. But then eventually you get to a point where you've said so much good stuff about it and you've had so much enjoyment from it that it becomes a thing of like, no, I actually take enjoyment out of this now. And the Hunter are very much one of them bands, and like my mate Saxon, like me and him slag off a lot of music together. Like, we're always just slagging off shit music and like really like wanky bands. for lack of a better term. And the Hunter are very much one of those kind of wanky bands. But even he'll agree, like, and he's harder on these bands than I am, but like even he'll agree that those three are fucking bangers.
Yeah.
Like,
to be fair, if you listen to We Could Be as well, that's another one that is like I would put on level with Bonfire and She's Casual and Dare, to be fair.
Because
like,
they did like so they played at our work recently, right? And it was before their most recent. So they've just released an album, right, called The Hunter, by The Hunter, not to be confused with the other two albums by The Hunter that aren't called The Hunter. Yeah. But so they've released an album this year. They played our work. They played our work. And I remember, but this was before the album come out, so everyone in the crowd was just expecting this to be a Hunter show with a few of the new singles thrown in there, right? They played maybe 2 songs, and then he turns around to everyone. He goes, "Actually, we think we're just gonna do the new album in full." So before it's like this is like a month and a half before it's out, so they just played the whole album in full, and then did She's Casual.
Surely just stood there,
and then she did like She's Casual, Bonfire, and Dare. And the whole thing, we were just like, this is such a bold move, but this is insane. And we're just like, so all these people have come to see The Hunter, and they're now listening to tunes they've never heard of an album that's not been released yet, that might not actually even be any good. And they just played this album in full, man. And I remember being stood, just thinking, what are they doing? And then it gets to the end, and I remember just being in like some cupboard or something, because I'd gone to get something for one of the bars, and I just remember being in the cupboard, and I heard the opening chords of She's Casual, and you've never seen someone sprint as fast as I sprinted out of that cupboard and down the stairs onto the bar, grabbed my co-worker Katie, and the two of us just belt your lungs out, just stood behind the bar absolutely watching. I think
I'm so glad that you like it.
And then after the gig, it was so funny. After the gig, the band came back at so we do the clean up, and then obviously the band all have to leave. And as they're leaving, I turned to Katie and I'm like, guys, it's the Hunter. It's the 100. Should we go get a photo with the 100? And part of me, like, I was taking the piss, but then there's you just know there's a part in the back of my head that was like, I actually really want a photo with them. It's such a weird thing how I'll slag them off endlessly.
I know.
But I have such a soft spot for them, and I actually kind of love them. I think it's more funny.
No, I know. Like, so I was never that bothered about them, and I was just like, they're a little bit cringe. And then just listened to them, and I was like, they got some good songs. And then they played. We had a festival in Portsmouth called Mutiny Festival, and it's cancelled now. But one year that they just like booked them, and I was like, that's quite big. So then I just remember going to see them, and I was like, oh, this is actually class. But
I saw
it is funny.
I saw the Hunter at Reading Leeds 2021. They were the first act that I saw that weekend. And I got dragged along, and I remember just being stood there talking for the whole time. And then as soon as I just kept on turning to people and being like, "Can they play She's Casual?"
Well, that just reminds me actually sorry to interrupt, but that just reminded me when you said about them playing the whole album. I went to a Wombats show. And it was for their most recent album. It was just a tour show, and they literally played 1 to 12. All the album, so you knew like the 3 singles, and that was it. And I don't think it had been out. And then the last one they played was Cheetah Tongue, and that was it.
So like no classics, literally just like classic. 1 to 3, and then the opener of their last album that was kind of all right. No, to be fair, that new Wombats album, that was a high. I thought it was phenomenal.
No, I did as well.
I remember listening to it for the first time and just being like, this is nostalgia.
I never really loved them that much. Like, I used to take the piss out of Joy Division endlessly, and like a couple of those songs I quite liked. Or was it Cheetah Tongue? Or was it Greek Tragedy they played? Might have been.
It'll be Greek Tragedy because that was the big TikTok one.
Yes, yeah. Anyway, and then I remember listening to that most recent album, and I was like, hang on a minute. Basically, every song of this is decent. No.
Okay.
Go on, number 2.
Number 2, let me pull my notes back up. I'm still looking at that truck lineup.
It's decent.
Okay, my number 2, which is a very good song. It's only second because my number 1 is literally my favourite song ever made. I've gone with Kendrick Lamar. I've gone with Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe. I think
nice.
One of the prettiest guitar parts in like a non-rock song ever. The lyrical content's sick. And I just think it's a really nice song. I think mainly it is that guitar that gets me, though. Like, I listen to that song, and that guitar's just It's just nice, isn't it? Like I hear that guitar, and
no,
it's just
really nice.
I can just vibe to that guitar alone. Like, I came across like a guitar cover of it on TikTok, not TikTok, YouTube even. I remember just listening to this cover and being like, "This is badass." This is so good.
No, that's really cool. I saw Kendrick Lamar at 2018 Reading, and what a set! Like in hindsight, like I remember being really, really like bored because of how long I'd waited. He was like 45 minutes late. He didn't come on until like 10:30 or something. So I remember feeling just exhausted, but looking back at it, like what a set. Like it was a joke of a set, and it was really good, and that was played. And when he went into his old songs, and I didn't know loads of them, and obviously you hear of a lot of, but you don't know all the lyrics. But I just remember just sitting there and being like, this is really good.
Yeah. I think it's just something. I think that album, if I knew that album better, it would probably be my favourite Kendrick album. It's just because I'm not listening to it as much as the other two, but like the vibes on that album are just unmatched. Like Money Trees, you've got Bitch and Kill My Vibe, Swimming Pools. I think there's very like if Kendrick Lamar has a vibe album, I think that's probably his vibe album. So, and speaking of like Reading Leeds 2018, actually, another band that played there, Fall Out Boy. New single out today. Have you heard it?
No.
It is very good. I was listening to it. I was listening to it before we got on this call because John from ARTV did a video. Nice classic YouTube guy. He did a video on it, and he's like a mega Fall Out Boy fan. So I was thinking, this guy's probably just gassing him up. Like
gassing it.
He's gassing it. So I went on and I found the music video. It wasn't the song. This is the first time in a while that I've looked for the music video before the song.
Yeah.
Just because I was on YouTube. So I go on the YouTube video and I'm like, this is nuts. And I was like, it's got
really?
the music.
I'll listen to it.
The music video is really good as well. I was like, that was a standout. The song's sick, but I think the video is the big standout. Like it's such a fun video. It's very 2003.
I'll listen to it because that Fall Out Boy, when we went and saw them, I wasn't that bothered, but I had a mate who really liked them. Like really. Yeah,
they were like my big. They were my big emo phase band. Obviously like. Since I've got out of that, but like now I'm having kind of a moment where I'm delving back into that emo phase a bit because of indie fatigue, and now Paramore are coming back, and then Fall Out Boy, this new track, it's very good.
I'll listen to it after we finish. I'll listen to it after it's finished.
100%.
Yeah, so I'll go.
Steam ahead.
Yeah, I'll go for my rap track. I've gone for Big for Your Boots by Stormzy.
Oh, yes.
A serious song. His best song he's ever made, in my opinion. I know it's mainstream, but it just is, I think. And I just think it's so hard-hitting, and I think it just packs so many memories in a song. Like, I remember with my mate, I used to work at Wilco, and he's one of my best friends still. And me and him, his name's Luke, and we learnt the lyrics from start to finish. And any opportunity we'd rap it. When we were 18 and we hit nightclubs that came in, we'd be in the middle rapping it. It is just such a tune, and it still is. Like it just go. And I think Stormzy is probably, I'd say at the moment he is the best live performer in the world. I think he is stupidly good live, and he's just it literally gives me goosebumps thinking about it.
When you mentioned like learning the lyrics to that tune back to front, that just pulled back a funny memory. I remember the first time I ever seen Stormzy, 2017 Transmit Festival, the first festival I'd ever even been to. The second band I'd seen on the day, or the second act I'd seen on the day, it went Circle Waves and then Stormzy. So I'd seen Circle Waves, had a bit of a dance in a t-shirt, weather, that sort of stuff. Stormzy comes on and I'm there. So me and my sister go down, being the northern British folk we are. And my cousin like is very Scottish. He's very like mountain climbing, hiking, that sort of shit. He's not very like street. So I remember me and my sister going down and being in the crowd, in like a fully Scottish crowd in the middle of Glasgow, watching Stormzy second from the bottom of the stage. I remember being stood there, and I must have rapped every single word back to back of "Shut Up," "Big for Your Boots," and I think it was "Know Me" from
Oh,
the other one at the time.
serious, yeah.
I was rapping everywhere, and I think by the time it got to Big for Your Boots, because I think Big for Your Boots was when really, like, I know Shut Up was its own thing, but like I think Stormzy really got mainstream on Big for Your Boots.
Probably, yeah.
I remember reciting Big for Your Boots word for word, and you could see people around me, because I was like, how old was I? This was 2017. I'm 14 at this point. I'm 13 at this point. I'm not even turned 14 yet.
That's mad.
13-year-old little white boy and his sister stood rapping Stormzy word for word, and you could see like the people around us looking down and being like, "That's pretty." And like, you know, like when you see kind of Twitter videos of people looking around being like, "Yo, that's so mad." We were stood there, and me and my sister. Well, I was the person that people were looking at, being like, "Yo, this kid knows Stormzy word for word." It's like, you know, the people who post like videos of their kids like dressed up as Liam Gallagher singing Wonderwall on Twitter, and everyone reacts to it. I was literally that for Stormzy in 2017, and that is a memory. Nice. But no, it's so mad. It's like Stormzy second from bottom in 2017, and then seeing him headline Reading and Leeds in 2021, 4 years after. It's just like, because I'd not seen him any other time, so it was like transmit to Reading and Leeds. So. Just the leap in quality.
Yeah. I just think because I've since about 2017-18, I really liked him. Never really had a chance because he wasn't touring or anything. Then obviously got announced for 2020 and it got postponed. Or did he get announced for? No, 2020, and then he played 2021. And I just think, and I've seen him once since, and he was in a gig when he was on his tour, and I just think like. I don't think, especially rappers, I'll say a rapper, I just don't think there's a better live performer out there. I think he works the crowd the best I've ever seen. And I actually think he's a genuinely nice bloke as well.
Yeah, he seems like a really sound guy. Like, he's one of the sort of people that I'd love to, like, in the industry that I'd love to be mates with. I feel like if I could ever imagine myself being in the industry, like, I'd imagine myself being at the Brit Awards and
just want to sit down with him,
you know, just like having a chat with Stormzy and being boys with him. Like, he's one of those sorts of guys. So
that was my close number one, I think. But the reason I've gone for my next number one is I'll explain it later. I'll let you hit number one.
Yeah. Okay. So my number one. I don't know if you'll have actually heard of it. This might be an anticlimax. There's a good chance you've not heard this one.
A good chance. Oh God.
How much do you know about King Cruel?
Little.
Okay, so my number one is Out Getting Ribs by King Cruel. Like I said, been pushing my favourite song of all time. I think it's just a stunning track. Like it's there's something about it, like the vocals sound really dirty and minging, and like you hear them vocals and you think, what is this? They're a bit grimy and a bit horrible, but there's just something about that, like those vocals over like such a pretty like instrumental. There's just something about it that really works. It's like this underlying beauty, and you hear him doing all this like mad stuff with his voice, like just like growling into the mic at points, and you're just like, okay, what's this? And for some, I understand that like a few people it'll ruin the song, but for me it's just one of them things where like at first it kind of ruined it, but now it's become a thing that I'm like, I adore it. I love the way that he does that. There's just something about it where it's like, I don't know how you can make something so minging have such like a level of richness on an instrumental like that.
Yeah. Was that in your is like his album on your top albums and artists as well? Would you say?
Wasn't, because you know what? I'm not too familiar with the full album, but it's one of the no. So I know like 3 or 4 off it. Yeah. But it's one of those albums where like I know 3 or 4 songs, but I've heard other bits and bobs, and I feel like if I knew it better, it probably would be in my top albums. Yeah. It's kind of one of them where like if I knew every song properly and was familiar with it, it would probably go into my top albums.
Yeah.
But no, he's one of my.
That's your top 10.
He's one of my guys that I want to see added for 2023 Reading and Leeds. Because I think I was looking for like to spark up a balance when I did that video of like who is going to actually save it in terms of quality, but who is not big enough to be a sub-headliner because we've already got our sub-headliners. So I was looking for like
that's a
small
fair
quality acts. So
Yeah,
like
that's a fair point.
King Cruel was one. I had like Parcels in there was another one.
Yeah.
Just those sorts of guys. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
my
point,
number
mate.
one. King Cruel out getting ribs.
Yeah.
That is
yeah,
the
that's
like
cool.
as well. That's the before I move on. That's like the headline song from the I Should Abuse Stimulants playlist. That is like. It's
Oh,
now,
yeah.
it's now like a running joke in our friendship group of like whenever something happens, like the joke is now like Alexa play out getting ribs, like
Yeah. Yeah, I'll listen to that as well.
But yeah, so that's now like the joke in our friendship group is like Alexa play out
That's
getting
just a
ribs.
little thing. Yeah.
I'm just making
No, I
sure
like
you're
it.
not actually getting it.
I'm gonna go. Yeah, set mine off.
to
but
check
yeah.
that.
I'm gonna say mine's a lot more mainstream than that, and the reason I picked it is if I thought I'd give it a nice round finish off to do with festivals, and before I'd ever been to Reading and Leeds, there was one clip on YouTube that made me want to go to that festival and see that artist at that festival, and this year we managed to do it. It's in your top 3. It's Are You Mine? And if you listen to Are You Mine 2014 Monkeys at Reading Festival, there is no better video on the internet. There is no better festival video than that. There's someone in the crowd with a flare, and it is honestly, and it's not even my favourite song in the world at all, but that one video makes it incredible, and that's just like that video and that sort of atmosphere just sums up I think everyone's love for like a festival. And that's why I picked it. And I was like, there's so many Monkeys I could have picked. It's not even to do with the Monkeys, it's just there's that one moment in that video, and it's just by chance it ended up being my last one. But if you watch that video, skip to the end, just see it when that introduction comes in. It was peak AM album as well, which is arguably probably their best time ever. And to be in that crowd, it would have just been a joke.
That's the thing.
It just would have been a joke.
I know that, like, obviously we all say, like, oh, Do I Want to Know's not that good, that sort of thing, and Are You Mine aren't that good.
Yeah.
But, like, especially, like, after seeing them this year live for the first times, there's a reason those two are, like, the big ones. I know, like, there's niche ones that are cool, and that you can have your favourites or you like. Like, no, they're nowhere near my favourite two Arctic Monkeys songs.
No, me neither.
My Arctic Monkeys songs, I probably do go a bit niche. Especially, like, my favourite Monkeys album's like Humbug. Like, that's probably about as like backwards as it gets. But like, there's a reason those two are like the big ones. And like when you see them live, it kind of relights it. Because I remember seeing Do I Want to Know live and just being like, I would never just put on Do I Want to Know, like, just off. If it comes on in the playlist, I'm leaving it on. And if I'm playing that album, it's on. But I'd never just whack on Do I Want to Know and jam to that song alone if I'm not having a bit of a listening session. But I remember coming away after seeing them in Spain the next morning, just strutting around the fucking villa that we were staying in, just Do I Want to Know on. That was the one. Do I Want to Know and I'm in Love with You by the 1975, because that was the night it came out.
Oh, that's a tune.
Because it came out that night. Because we'd obviously heard it at Reading and Leeds, and then we were in Spain, we saw Monkeys, and as Blossoms were on at that festival, 1975 had released I'm in Love with You, so I was able to go home and just
blast that as well. Exactly. But I felt a bit scummy picking it, but just think about watching that video, and that from about, because that was 2014 Reading, I was 14 then, so it wasn't probably until I was about 16, 17 first looking at like Reading tickets. And that video alone, just like, I need to go to that festival and I need to see them there one day. It's a shame that they've sort of changed the way they perform it, but that's the way Alex Taylor wants to go. And at the end of the day,
to be fair,
but the thing is,
when I saw because that Leeds this year, I kind of gave up halfway through Monkeys. And the reason I was like, I wouldn't do that in any other circumstance, but I was seeing them 3 days later, so it wasn't an issue for me.
You weren't too bothered.
Yeah, so I kind of gave up, and I was like, this crowd is too horrible, like I'm sacking it off. So I didn't leave completely, but I kind of went to where all the food vendors are, where you could kind of see the stage. It kind of comes down onto East, so you get to the end and then it starts sloping down. And I'm kind of just sat there watching from afar, seeing it on the big screen. I remember they played I Bet You Look Good on the Dance Floor, and so many people left, because that was not the last song. There was maybe 4 songs after that. But basically, it was as if they'd ended. It was as if they were done. There was that many people leaving. So I was like, hang on, if they... And then they started... I think the next song after that was maybe 1 Point Perspective. And if people are leaving and they're playing 1 Point Perspective, like, I love a bit of Tranquility Base. Like, I'm getting back in there. So I kind of started moving back forward and just went to a different area of the crowd. Got way further in. I got to a part where, like, a lot of the people around me were a bit older, like, much older fans. So it was a bit more chilled out. And I just listened to, like, 1 Point Perspective. I think it was Arabella and Are You Mine from that point. Oh, no, it wasn't. It was 505. It was 1 Point Perspective, 505, and Are You Mine from this point. And it was considerably better than the whole rest of the set.
Yeah.
And I remember just being like, this is phenomenal. And there was still, like, a few dickheads. There was still flares getting set off. But, like, it did just, like, that change in crowd. Like, I moved from the right to the left. Bit further in.
Yeah.
Bit more space. Didn't go in too deep. Didn't try overshoot. It was so much better.
No, that's a fair point. And that's the thing, though. Even with, like, TikTok, like, I remember really liking, like, 505, I Want to Be Yours. I'm just trying to think of the ones that got big on TikTok. And, like, if it wasn't for TikTok, like, those songs would have been in the ones that people just wouldn't have listened to this year. But it's only because of how these songs have been blown up even more.
Yeah, do you know what, though? I've honestly never seen anything like the amount of people leaving after I Bet. Like, it was actually mad to me. I was looking at it and I was like, this looks like the band have finished, but the screens are still on. They're literally still on stage. Like, not even that. It's not even that. They're literally on stage in the, like, singing.
Yeah.
And it looks like they've finished. I was like, that's mad to me for any band, right? That'd be nuts to me if it was any band. But the fact that it was like Arctic Monkeys, who are probably the greatest band the UK's ever seen.
Probably the most anticipated Reading and Leeds headliner since
of all time, like the most requested headliner for Reading and Leeds ever. Yeah. And people are like, they've still got 3 songs left and people are leaving. Like, I was just looking on like, it feels like a fever dream. This don't feel real.
Yeah.
But yeah, luckily I saw him in Spain a few days later and the crowd was so chilled. So I was loving it.
I'm excited. To be fair, I'm excited to see them in Southampton and
the thing is,
in June, because I don't know what it's going to be like, but I just think at least I know kind of what they're going to be like, so I don't have any expectation. I'm just going to go enjoy their music, enjoy their show.
I'd love to see them in that Manchester gig, but if I do miss it, part of me's like, I don't mind too much, because at this point with Monkeys, I'd much rather see them in Europe. I think Monkeys now would be so much better to see in Europe than the UK. Because in the UK, you've got too many opinions. I remember the people stood behind us while they were playing tunes. Just like kids who were like 16, 17. They can't have been 18. But they were like... I think they were playing like... Don't Sit Down Because I Move Your Chair. And I remember hearing one of them go, yeah, I know this song. And then proceeded to just sing every word wrong. And I'm like, bro, no one knows the songs. Like, I've never seen a more silent crowd for a headliner. The Monkeys doing...
Weird, isn't it?
And the thing is, you'd think like... I remember having conversations about Monkeys in college and someone was like, yeah, it's a niche Monkeys tune. And everyone in the class would turn around and be like, bro, there are no niche Monkeys tunes. They're like one of the biggest bands ever. But apparently there are like niche Monkeys tunes and apparently it's
like it's like that Liam Gallagher though, wasn't it, the year before when everyone was just screaming Wonderwall next to me.
And it's apparently
weird,
it's apparently not that hard to get to the Monkeys niche tunes. Like I thought anything in a set list at least people would know. But like apparently people don't know stuff like Crying Lightning. People don't know Crying Lightning. I'm like, that's nuts.
Mad, isn't it?
And it's not like that's coming from me who's obsessed with Crying Lightning either. It's like that was probably like 4th or 5th Monkeys tune I ever heard.
Yeah. I know.
But yeah, so Are You Mine? That's a number 1. This is I love this format of doing like top 10 songs. I was thinking like I know. So this is like a 6-episode kind of limited series, but there's a pretty good chance I'm going to bring it back next year for like a second season.
Yeah, nice.
I think if I was to do a second season, I might do another one of these. I'm thinking like maybe music videos, top 10 music videos.
Or you could do like kind of what the Desert Island Disc format is, and be like, so try and get like your something. Is it they do like your something blue, your favorite cover.
Yeah,
do that sort of thing.
That would be cool. But we've come to the end of this one. Top 10 songs for the Desert Island.
A random mix of songs.
An entertaining mix. to say the least. But it's been a pleasure having you on, Adam. I'll leave like your Twitter's on the screen already, and I'll leave all your links in the description. But before we finish, is there anything you wanna say to the viewers?
No, I just want to say thank you very much for having me on. I really appreciate it, and keep doing what you're doing, man. Because it's people like, I mean, like I say that as if I'm an expert. I've only been doing it a year. I just set it up like you did, and just uploaded content. And there's not enough of us doing it. And the more people that can, we can create this little community, and everyone can watch everyone,
it's
and
nice
everyone
to
can
see
interact with everyone.
That's the thing I've noticed about doing the pod is like booking, like getting different people on. It feels like it's almost kind of like a moment for the community where everyone kind of now knows each other a bit, and people are more open to doing stuff with each other. Like,
definitely.
I was saying I'd love to do some sort of kind of like Christmas special where we just get on like everyone that's been on the podcast, where it's like me, you, Ruben, get Jack on for a bit, get Sam on, Alfie on, get those boys, and just do like a big piss up Christmas episode. Something like that would be sick to do.
No, that would be class. That'd be really cool. But because I remember even just trying to get Rob on R1 last year, and like that was like messaging him, and then like having to put it in like a comments for him to see it. Whereas now, like you could probably people in the community could just send him a message and he'd just reply, because you notice names on Twitter and whatnot. Yeah, literally. But yeah, thank you very much for having me on. It's been really good fun. Thank you.
I'll wrap it up now. That's the end of the 3rd episode. We'll be back next week. With a different guest. I'm not sure the order of these is coming out so it's either going to be Jack Webb or Ruben. Your random,
big one. Two big ones. Two biggies.
Your random mill brother. I think hopefully it should be Ruben if I can get him like on for a date in time. But yeah, that's the one. Cheers for listening. If you've sought out this long. And yeah, we'll see you next week. Cheers, Adam.
See you later. Cheers, mate.